So the day before yesterday, I picked up a lawnmower that someone wanted to get rid of, and he also had a rototiller he wanted to get rid of. He said it won't start. I'm going to see if I can get it working so that I can do my garden. It's a little dirty. Looks like it got a little smooshed right here, but carburetor's definitely dirty. It doesn't look like there's any gas in there. It has any oil. Wow, that is tight. Well, it's got oil. Looks like it's overfilled and it's pretty dark. Spark plug looks old. I have to check for spark, see what I got. Alright, I brought it here in the dark so I can see if I have any spark. My spark checker. Maybe you can see that. Make sure it's not off. Right, that's on the run. If we have any spark. It does look like we have spark, and it's a little bit weak, but we have spark. Good start. I'm going to hose this thing down with the pressure washer and get it cleaned up, and then I'll start tearing into it. Alright, before I get started, I think I'm going to pull these tines off and get some of the garbage off of there. Oh, that one slid right out. Looks like he was tilling up a forest. There, it looks 100% better. Like new. A little air filter. Nothing in that. In the spot I can't get to with that. Wow, the gap on this thing is really, really wide. It's like a 1/16 of an inch. I have to adjust that. And spray a little cleaner down in there too once I get the carb off. Oh, that's in a really tight spot. I'm going to take off the intake instead. What the heck? It's behind the muffler? Ay, ay, ay. And of course it's a different size bolt. Yeah, take all this apart just to get to the carburetor. Don't want to take this bracket off because it's looks like it's through one of the head bolts, and I don't want to mess with the head bolts. There we go. What else we got holding this thing? Looks like about it. Needs a little. Needs a little persuasion. Boop. And before I go any further, I will take a picture of how the linkage goes together. I've run into it too many times where I forget. Take it from different angles. Like so. Oh, it's one of those. Alright. It doesn't come apart here. It's actually got a little plastic piece that's welded on. So instead of goofing with this, I'm just going to pull this part out. I'll put this back on so I don't forget about it later. Shouldn't have anything in it since the gas tank was dry. It's dirty. It's got a little crap in the bottom of it, but pretty old. Alright, I'll pull the rest of this apart and clean it up. So this has a little bit of sticky old gas in the bottom, and this float kind of sticks up inside too, so it's got some gummage inside. Get it apart and I'll clean it out. Alright, I got this set up on a little table. This is what I use for cleaning carburetors. This is Berryman B12. I'll put a link below. Good stuff. I put it in an old container, spray container. And then just hose it in there. Take off the hose. I guess that was garbage. Get the tin out of the float here. This gasket is in the way. Alright. We'll have to see if this still floats. Looks like somebody repaired it. Get the tin out. Looks pretty good. Actually, I could see light through here. I'm going to give this a little spray with the Berryman's again. I'm going to soak this thing in some Dawn dish detergent and some hot water. Do this a couple squirts of Berryman's again. Loosen up the gunk. And then throw it in the water. Alright, where is my tub of water? Here we go. Some sour cream. Make sure this float works. See if it floats. And it does. See if it pops back up. Yes, it does. So I'm going to leave it in the water for a while and see if that sinks or floats or whatever. And I'm going to put the hose in there. Get some of the grease off of that. And then this carburetor here. Alright, let that soak for a little while. And come back and spray it off. Alright, well, while that stuff is soaking, I'm going to take off the coil because this is pretty rusted up. And I'll get that cleaned up. Remember, wire side up. And I will pull the spark plug so I am not fighting the compression. Ooh. Got some oil on it. That might have been from me tipping it too. J19LM. Okay. We'll get that cleaned up. This is how I normally clean up the flywheel and the magnets. Just take a piece of sandpaper and take my drill. It usually gets them nice and smooth. This just knocks off all of the nubs so that it doesn't crash into the coil. Alright, I'll go clean up this. This isn't really bad, but I'm going to just clean it up a little bit on the wire wheel just to get some of that rust off of there. Be right back. Alright, I got that nicely cleaned up. I'm just going to wipe it down with some dirty motor oil from the engine. And I do that just to keep it from rusting again. A light coating, let it get inside the leaves there. It just keeps the rust away, kinda. Like new. Alright, I'll get this put back on and I'll gap it. And it should be good. So I usually clean up the inside of these screws too, just to make sure it makes good contact with the engine, because that's where the ground is. And what I'm also going to do is give these a little clean off. Make sure I got good contact for ground. I'll put this back on. I always pull it back as far as it'll go away from the flywheel. That way it makes it easier to gap this. Now most of these engines, these small engines, the gap for the spark plug is 0.030. So we're going to measure that and see. Just measure and see, and it looks like it is 0.030. So it's a good gap. See if we have any spark. Alright, this might be hard to see in the sunlight. Let's see if I can block some of that sun. Let me turn this over. Oh. Yep, and we got good spark now. Let's get that spark plug back in there. And then we'll get the rest of the carb put back together and put it on there. Well, lucky me, while I was working on this flywheel, my ultrasonic cleaner came in. So I can use this to clean the carburetor. Awesome. Get this thing set up and see how this works. Well, I've got this set up inside. I transfer over some of this stuff into the tank. It's already been soaking a little bit, but let that go for about half an hour. Alright, and while we're waiting for that stuff to all clean up, I'm going to dump the oil out of it and get some new stuff in it. Yeah, it works pretty good. It's actually easier than the lawnmowers. I'll let that drain. Alright, it's done. Let's see how well it did. It looks pretty good. I'll just rinse these off and get them installed. So let's blow these parts out. some gas in there. Let's pump this 3 times. Well, she works. Let's get the tines on there and see if we can do some tilling. Ground is pretty tough. But this ground is pretty hard. It's hasn't been tilled in a couple of years, but yeah, cut through pretty good. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for stopping by.